or is it Gen.G? Let's get into it now. Comes down to this, everybody's cheering for their respective teams, but also cheers afterwards. They just wanted a Game 5. It's just about as good as it can get in here and in China, everywhere around the world. It's League of Legends time.
And these regional gauntlets just keep giving in Korea. Of course, the surprise double victors of Samsung Galaxy. In the past 2 years, we're seeing Gen.G try to fight through. There's a real chance they take all 15 games to qualify for Worlds if they do make it to face Kingzone Dragon X on Sunday. But Griffin wants to stop that today. They want the defending champions to not be able to make it to the World Championship. Ruler on the Xayah does have one annoying thing to deal with. If you remember, way back to the first half of summer season, it's what's your first item? When you're against an awesome dude like a Vladimir, you want lifesteal to answer his life gain from Doran's shield and his Q. Xayah doesn't build Blade the Ruin King, so do you just build a Vamp Scepter or something like a Hex Drinker, then go into your standard build? We saw Depth of all things start corrupting Potion on the Xayah in the past, so I'm very interested to see how Ruler sustains through what can be a frustrating laning phase, whether he has priority or not.
Definitely a important micro point down on the bottom side. I'm curious to see if Chovy is going to be unlocked in these last 2 games. He was chained on the Irelia, and his team fighting was fantastic. His team was too far behind for him to be able to do much. He got killed in Game 3 due to Haru and his fantastic Gragas, but now he's on the Yasuo. He's banned 4 games in a row. And now they finally gave it to him. They banned the Aurelia instead. And can he actually do it? It's a good matchup into the Zoe. He carried on the Aatrox. He must be feeling really confident right now. It's just about, can he actually perform in game number 5?
I mean, at level 1 is disaster for Shen and Vladimir. They can do nothing to Xayah Rakan. Level 2, he already showed Q in hand, so obviously did not have Taunt at level 1. Level 2, there's some gimmicky all-in chances. I want to draw your attention to Summoners and also Keystones. Aftershock on Lahan's, Predator onto Viper, but they took Exhaust Ignite, something you can do with awesome dudes a bit more free. I don't need those teleports or heals as much. So they do have double combat Summoners to potentially turn around, especially if Sejuani's there for a gank.
They're going to be just chilling down the bottom side. If they can stay even on CS, that's going to be a win for them. And so far, it's looking like just that. Sejuani might just head down there to help them out, or maybe after level 6, like we saw in game number 4. But so far, Tarzan just pathing up towards the top side, where the Gnar, also the other champion we mentioned, new here in game 5, but we thought it would have been much more prolific. We would see it more often here in this one of Sword versus Cuvée, but the first time now coming out, Cuvée, the original gangster on this Gnar, trying to make a name for himself once again in game 5.
I think early levels, the Gnar will be very comfortable. The problem becomes, is the moment he gets exhausted out of a Mega Gnar, if Urgot starts, then the base stats go away and the ult seems pretty academic to pick up kills. It could be very, very punishing as the matchup goes on with 2 items especially. I think Righteous Glory comes in and things get pretty terrifying for the Gnar in particular. When it comes to Yasuo, we always talk about knock-up synergy. Do remember that the Urgot has that situational knock-up with his E to complement the Q from Sejuani. It's not quite Malphite or Alistar, but there are some tools around to allow Chovy and engage. And, you know, based on game 4, who's to say he can't do it all himself like he's been able to in some of these clutch games?
Chovy definitely, as we mentioned, the youngest player. It's hard usually for young players to come in and deal with all the stress and handle it and be the big carry, but the 2 guys here in Korea, Chovy and Ukal, the super young ones that just continuously show up in high-pressure situations, it's a good sign that we'll have more of these young kids that show up in rough spots in the future as well.
It's the new generation, right? It's what people are talking about with Griffin and Yukal and these young players who watched when they were very young some of their opponents and have formed their play around that. Speaking of forming play around, Haru is lying in wait here, but doesn't necessarily have the most priority for mid, so doesn't actually end up fighting. Thing that strikes me about Chovy is that crazy thing where I don't think he knows he should be, off his game or he should be intimidated. And it's one of those things where maybe you just don't tell him. That's the weird part is, should you tell him that actually he should be a little bit off, you should be a little bit different? Or maybe you just lean into the fact that if he plays the same with his mouse and keyboard wherever he is, that's a pretty amazing trait to have.
Yeah, I definitely say Chovy is the more innocent of the two, right? Definitely.
Yukal's the, not trash talker, but I'm bringing the title for score.
Yeah.
I'm doing this. I'm going to do it. Whereas Chovy's like, well, I just did my job.
Say, I'm a good player. I like League of Legends, and I just love playing with my friends every day. This is great. Yukal's like, I'm going to kill you.
If the power of friendship takes you to Worlds, hey, man, who am I to say anything?
Yeah, I love the fact that they have totally opposite personalities, basically. It's not opposite, but different, because they're both relatively positive and happy-go-lucky, I'd say. One a little bit more reserved than the other, but it's pretty cool. I like it. Don't forget about BDD. He has a lot more experience, but still very young, at least in the mid lane. I would say he's still part of that new era.
Viper, 2 months after his last Vladimir game, is going CS for CS with Zyra Khan. So you would say this lane's going incredibly better than expected, as Shen's support was rotated out of consideration among most teams in Korea for, well, the laning phase is a bit AFK outside of some gimmicky all-ins, so you can't run it. Those are the words pro players were using to me. It's not possible. So for him to bring it back in a game like this, and for them to go so competitive, credit to Viper and Lehens for leaning back on what worked in the past and making it work again on patch 8.15.
Yeah, Swit boots first with the Predator. Did Viper, had 4 pots, only needed to use 1. Goes back, buys cooldown boots and a big rod.
That's a nice purchase.
Yeah. It's needlessly large, and it has a lot of AP. It's going to begin doing a little bit more damage. You don't really see the Vladimir begin to pop off until, level 9 plus, but still, the lane has been going well so far. I would expect it to continue to go well.
Working towards a Spellbinder for one of his engage items. We should, again, adjust our expectations for the game a bit, as it's all about getting the back timing here for Ruler. Reason why I say that is what it allowed Griffin for Viper to be playing Yasuo, Vladimir, and specifically the Vladimir is the big win rate champion is he's the engager. He gets 2 items and he's ready to fight rather than waiting for his moment on Caitlyn that just never came 2 games in a row. As the Vladimir, he pops Predator, he rushes in, and from there he's able to start things that the rest of the members can end. So it's a different role for Viper and one that he's shown a huge aptitude for earlier in the season.
Another question that we haven't asked yet is Crown, after being pummeled game number 4 by the Aatrox on the Vel'Koz, can he come back here on playing Zoe for the first time tonight and actually do well? I mean, this is a guy that's totally opposite his lane opponents, right? He has tons of experience. He's been on the world stage, final stage twice in a row. And, he's dealt with it, the highs, the lows. He knows everything. Can he come in after game 4 and that poor performance and actually shut down Chovy?
Gotta say, Zoe's more often have been held in check rather than popping off in recent memory. And very hard to manufacture a lead in your own lane against Yasuo. It's very, very hard to get a solo kill onto Yasuo outside of, say, level 2-3 with a lucky pickup. So I think it's going to be a product of what happens around him. He's going to farm it out, show up with some magic penetration and eludence, and then if his team's winning, you can definitely extend that lead. If his team's falling behind around him, it'll be very hard to manufacture a lead solo as the Zoe.
Well, looking to pick up first blood around the 10-minute mark here is the top jungle duo for Griffin. Tarzan waiting in the brush. Haru is nearby, but he runs right up to it. Can he land this? Is going to land on in. There's Sword, but the flash comes out of Cuvée. Nicely done. It was a kind of slow, steady engage, and he was able to flash away from it.
Felt like Sword and Tarzan went on the same page there. There was some orb walks back before the engage happened. After the W went wide from Tarzan, Not the most convincing, but they get a flash. They get a summoner out of Gen.G, so still overall successful. Chovy sitting on 3 daggers, working towards his Phantom Dancer. Always hard to hit a skill shot on this man. Chovy is nothing if not slippery, whatever he's playing.
Yeah, he's definitely had his fun on Zoe. Irelia played a bunch of Orianna. We haven't seen that tonight. We aren't going to see it. Maybe in the King Zone series up against BDD, but so far he's liking the much more aggressive picks. The Yasuo, Aatrox, Irelia, and the Zoe, of course.
A spot here that the Rift Herald has been started, but we see already Haru is well on to stealing away the Raptors. We'll see if they can get the Cloud Drake. They certainly are set up for first. Adamir, I don't think is going to be looking for anything too fancy, but you feel really good about trading a Rift Herald for a Cloud Drake if you're Griffin.
How about we try this again, says Tarzan. He does not have his ultimate just yet, but he can use that Rift Herald if he wants to begin the push.
They're walking up here.
Okay, try to go for the kill. Actually, Ignite comes in with that spell book, and well, he's getting super low. Nice ultimate though, into the wall. The Shenels is not going to be enough. First blood is going to get there for Cuvée, and now Tarzan just on the run throws his ultimate just to survive at this point. We also got Haru coming up the river right now. Not sure if Tarzan can get away. Looks like he will, but a botched dive gives the first blood to Gen.G.
Cuvée in the clutch on the Gnar. Griffin got greedy. Like you say, they could have just plopped the Rift Herald. There was no interrupt up as Cuvée was in mini Gnar form and either taken the turret or gotten it very low. They put trust in the kill, but they can't get him into execution range. If the first Q hits, I believe, the ult which had already been cast, there would have been enough damage done, but with the transformation, he's not in 20% range. The ult doesn't come off, and through the Shen ultimate, the Urgot goes down.
That's a real feels bad moment. Even the Glacial Prison on the backside of that, where it's just, okay, the dive went super wrong, and now I don't have my really long cooldown ultimate for the Sejuani, one of the main reasons you play her in the jungle for the mid game, and
it just felt rushed because he wasn't exhausted. The Gnar bar was close to full when they started the dive and was cemented quite early. The Q missed on the dive. They still went for it because they had the Ignite from the Unsealed Spellbook. They were already in a really comfortable spot. There was no need to rush. But the rush means a bit of an item lead here for Cuvée as bot lane. Viper's just going in for a trade.
The CS still pretty much exactly even. Ruler just 5 ahead down in the bottom side, and we'll see if he can carry. You know, he had that one moment on the Xayah in game number 3. He'll also get his moment to shine in this one.
Small note about the bot lane. We wondered what Ruler would do when it came to actually finding a lifesteal item to trade. What instead we're seeing is when Stormrazor, notice it's not going for Fleet Footwork. It is the lethal tempo for max damage. Try to kill an Urgot in a team fight. We're just seeing Predator used off cooldown to half health Ruler and try to keep him away from being in an offensive position. Speaking of offensive position, Haru is walking up and just trying to add any pressure they can. About a 10 CS lead here for Ruler.
I like Haru going down, just clearing it out. He doesn't have to, you know, dive them or even gank them to put pressure. It's just a small trip down to the bot lane, saying hello, saying, hey, remember me? Haven't been on the map too much, but I still exist. Now they're looking for a play onto Chovy. Maybe we can bait him on in. Haru just waiting. It's not going to come through.
Rift Herald again claimed by Griffin, as we know, ages ago now. Where will it be used? Could be used topside. A lot happening here. They're going for the bot lane dive.
4 on 2. The dodge circle is already used.
Nice
the engage there from CoreJJ. Not going to be on point. Has to get out of this one. The Hens does go down, but the TP on the backside means it's only going to be 1 kill. Meanwhile, up on the top side, though, Griffin have the push.
That's right. They put down the Rift Herald. They teleport a bot lane to stop the turret going down as fast. I don't know if they can repel 2v4. Your first thought is no. Here we go. They're trying to hold the turret.
Okay, everything missed here by Crown, and Also, JJ pretty low. Finally hits a Panel Star onto Viper. And still the Rift Herald pushes. This is much better right now for Griffin. But Viper gets super low. The flash on him from Crown also picks up a heal. Is it going to be enough? No! No! The life steal comes out. And it goes down. Crown going too deep. And Griffin are going to capitalize. The push is still going in the top lane.
Game 5s are about moments. The timing on the ult from Lehens was perfect. Sniped out of the air was the Zoe. Crown thought he had enough damage to kill. He did not. And it's a third charge from Shelly.
Oh boy, that's not what you want to see. Gen.G, it was their moment to be impatient, their moment to go too far, and perfect play out of Griffin to stop it. Now they're trying to run away with this one. They're going to catch Haru in the mid lane too, just randomly farming, and another kill to the board.
A macro moment for Griffin after 2 macro victories for Gen.G in games 2 and 3, and it had to be in the clutch. It had to be the Fairy Tale squad. They get so much topside, they didn't even lose their outer turret bot lane. We're getting at the replay. We were skeptical that Urgot and Vladimir could hold this turret. Crown thought he had the kill when he picked up the flash, healed first, goes in for the damage, but he actually gets the empowered Q heal, the Shen as well, and then Sword snipes him away, and around the world people cheer because the Zoe getting sniped by an Urgot is a feels good man moment for most.
That's the world we live in now, guys. The Urgot coming in and shutting down Zoe.
How is the Urgot the protagonist and the cute skipping Zoe the bad guy? That is just where League of Legends has gotten to.
That's just the edgy riff we're playing on, man. That's the way things go nowadays. And well, it's a huge moment for Griffin. They do get the lead off of the back of that. They're not running away with it just yet, but you already have a kill onto the Yasuo. You get one on the Urgot, who's going to be unbelievably tanky now. And they do have that gold lead, 1,200 ahead. Gonna be pretty happy with their position.
And Chovy's going for the I'm ready to kill you in the mid-game build, already very close to infinity. Speaking of killing,
trying to get that play onto Crown here, but there's the trouble bubble, trying to predict it here, but Haru is nearby. They're not going to dive the turret.
All right, Griffin, deep breaths, you back away. Griffin got the lead from that play, and now the top side is a very, very long lane as the charge onto the inhibitor turret is going to be very difficult to return to. Urgot can't really push out Gnar for 3 minion waves and then take a turret. That's not how it goes, so still is a nice immediate injection of gold into the game. QSS from Cuvée as a second item, not an ideal one either. Knows the Sejuani has set a tent up top side and doesn't want to deal with that. But we're ready to pivot now that Chovy almost has an infinity edge and start playing a group game all through the lane with that Yasuo. They clear out the ward put down earlier. It's another Cloud Drake, so it's one Tarzan could afford to give up.
No suicide missions into the pit for that one. Griffin haven't been prioritizing the Dragons all night long. It's 13-2 in favor of Gen.G. Tarzan just trying to make a play once again here, but good vision control. You take a look at the map. Gen.G have 4 control wards down in great places. They may not have seen Tarzan come in, but cleanse on Crown, he should be okay.
And Gen.G just have a very Korean macro setup, which is what Gen.G are known for, right? Slow and steady. Put down your control wards, take what's owed to you because you've had vision for so long. But I think the best of Griffin, and why I'm so happy to see them on a CC bot laner and a CC jungler, is that I think they do play the hybrid style that the LPL uses, much more towards that side. They do like games like this where, well, we don't have any wards down, but if Sejuani and Yasuo show up, you get the hell out of there, whether you see them next to you or you see them in vision. And that is the LPL style. I think that is what is the best way to play League of Legends right now is we got these items that it doesn't matter if you see us coming, we're still taking your lunch money. Yeah. You're announcing it to, hey, we're coming for that. And that is what Griffin can do when they've got early power spikes like a Vladimir, when they've got CC on their jungler and their support. And now Gen.G are going to see them coming a mile away, but they're going to keep going towards their nexus and keep watching Griffin get leads.
It's definitely the name of the game. Ruler down here up against Sword. He can just shell away at Sword. Sword's not going to take any damage, but he knows it's 1-on-3, so he has to give up that turret. Nice little play by Gen.G. Griffin elsewhere on the map. Tarzan was up top, and Chovy was back in the base. So good timing there by Gen.G to make it all work.
I think the Yasuo was definitely the reason here. Getting that Yasuo has been so nice for the side of Griffin. Still, the Yasuo's got his items. He doesn't have a stopwatch yet, but that's kind of the core. Then he just starts popping off. Maybe QSS. We'll wait and see. The decision there. Without a true marksman, A-ramming is not the happiest time for Griffin, as we can see. We're very zoomed out here. They want to pick and then a free mid lane turret. Crown has no idea where they are.
Yeah. Well, let's just space check a little bit.
They know where they are now.
Okay, well, Crown's going to eat it right there. It does have the cleanse. Will be able to counter-engage. The TP is coming in. The knock-up on all hands. It does get canceled, actually, but still will go down. Tarzan, as he got a little bit too close, trying to go a little bit farther. There it is, the Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto the Shen. Do they have a follow-up? It's a lot of damage out of Zoe. There's the pillar, and down he will go. 2 for 0. Goes over to Gen.G.
And does that mean Baron is the question that Gen.G might have to pose to Griffin? Really nice interrupt by Cuve. Didn't know where his Mega Narbar was at. You definitely start the Baron here. Tarzan's dead, but Chovy is lurking.
Ooh, no Vladimir ultimate right now, but Chovy, can he do it himself? The TP
early
comes in here from Sword. Crown on the opposite side, picks up an exhaust right now. It's perfect for them up against the Yasuo. Just trying to do the damage to this Baron. It's going to be incredibly close. Sword over the wall, just trying to poke. Here comes Shen into that backline. Gen.G, they're so low, but the exhaust is there. Toby trying to go deep. Sword gets the kill on Haru, and there it is. The smite comes out from Urgot, and 2 kills onto Yasuo. Griffin, they push it in. They get the kills and the Baron.
Sword got the smite from the unsealed spellbook, killed the Trundle and smite, and he just did everything.
There it is. There's the man on your screen. He did it all by himself, had his buddies by his side. But Gen.G, they make that crucial shot call. They go for the Baron. It does not pay off. Even the Shen came in alongside the Urgot. Sword, he performs, he does everything, and now Griffin are massively far ahead.
And people say, why unsealed spellbook on the Urgot? Because if it goes right, you do literally everything. He changes to it. And he's able to come into the fight with Lehens. It's a 4v5. He comes in, takes down the enemy jungler. Wait for that smite. My name's Urgot. I only do everything. What a play here for a Sword. That is how you want to go on to the next round. Literally carrying your team on your back.
The rest of them were routed. Chovy just picking up the pieces, but it really was all Sword. Gets the ultimate onto Haru, makes him useless, pushes everybody else out with the fear, smites the Baron by himself, and there you have it, guys. We have our MVP for Game 5 already.
This guy has been criticized the whole way through. Who was the weakest member in Challenger? Rather, or Sword was the answer. Most people would say Sword. Chovy now the starting mid laner, and after the Aatrox was OP meta, fell away. Didn't look great in the season, but I think some of that was the incessant Cho'Gath drafting, even when it didn't work for the team. He was in a lot of lose-lose scenarios. In a moment like that, when you need your name to be one that is sung rather than one that is forgotten, the Griffin fans will be singing Sword's name tonight. What a play from him, and a great set piece once again by Griffin.
It's going to be one to remember for quite a while. What if Griffin from this go on to Worlds and, you know, get a very top finish, maybe even win the whole thing? I don't want to say that's going to happen, but we would go back to this moment and say, remember Game 5 against Gen.G when Sword went in there and was the MVP? It's moments like this that bring your team into Worlds.
It will have to be King Zone, and they still have to close the door on Gen.G. But if you guys are fuzzy on how it worked, he teleported in, then waited. You saw he was waiting next to the boss man for a while. He was waiting for both Lehen's ultimate and the 3, 4, 5 seconds of the lockout on the unsealed spellbook to change it to the smite. Yeah. Came over, was able to get the kill and the smite. Removed the smite, had his own. That is definitely DIY winning a best of 5 coming through from Sword. They don't have the world's best siege, so there's still a chance that Gen.G can delay this game.
You notice Tarzan waiting in the wings. They do have some really nice dive if everything comes together, but again, can get risky. You don't want to go too fast, too furious. Either way, the slow push with that Baron is coming on in. Lehen's trying to control up against Core JJ in the middle. The push from Viper over to the right side. Sword by himself up against Gnar in the mid lane.
It's not getting much, though. Again, their siege is very, very poor on the side of Griffin.
Just a little bit of damage here. Mostly just cannon minions that are Baroned up, doing the damage. They do it. albeit slowly.
10 seconds left, though, so slowly but surely doesn't lead to the base being broken. It's close, but no cigar.
That it is. But that fight that they had, sure, Sword was the MVP. Who benefited the most off of that? Chovy. He just picked up a Guardian Angel after that. He picked up the scraps because he got 2 free kills from people running away from Urgot. And that means now, yeah, Chovy wasn't the carry of that fight, but how about the next fight or the one after that? This guy is going to be shredding people. Zoe is not going to survive. Not just Zoe, even Haru on the Trundle might be pretty weak at that point. The Rakan certainly not going to survive. Look at that. Look at that graph there at 21 minutes.
But do notice the scale. Notice the scale was very small. This is not a titanic, unmanageable lead. It's actually 4,500 gold. So it went from 0 to about 5K, not a 10,000 gold lead. So scale is important, but definitely all because of the one Baron play. Regardless of everything we've said and the obvious excitement about Griffin now being very close to a Game 5 victory, there still is their poor siege. They're needing another Baron, most likely to break the base. And also, there's definitely 5 people reared up to be an equal match winner on the side of Gen.G. Crown will be kicking himself for some of the plays earlier. Gen.G, there's always the chance that someone answers. This is a team that has won the gauntlet twice in a row and wants to proudly defend the World Championship in Korea. What an honor that would be to defend the crown. If they were to win Worlds in Korea for the back-to-back victory and to defend it in their home country, that'd be so big for a Gen.G team that is still fighting for the recognition of the fans when it comes to famous big orgs here. They do lag behind SKT, Kingzone, KT when it comes to fan bases. Griffin still building one of theirs. They're in a great spot, but until we see that Nexus explode, we're not going to sing just yet.
We got to wait, and then there's one more step for either of these teams. Kingzone watching very, very closely on this series. You have to imagine back at the team house, the analysts doing their analysis, the team members discussing with the coach, what are we going to do up against whatever team comes in. It's going to be hard. I feel like Gen.G have proven that they deserve to be on the same level as all the other teams in the gauntlet. And Griffin also proving now that they're not going to go down without a fight up against Gen.G. I mean, they made it all the way to the LCK finals, just 1 game away from winning the entire thing. So super competitive up at the top here in LCK. That's the way it's been all summer long amongst the weird metas and everything else, but doesn't change the fact that we have 4 or 5 teams that are right up there towards the top.
If you asked to kind of disseminate what we saw over the case of LCK Summer, is there a word better, especially with KT winning, than excitement? There's been so much happening. There hasn't been agreement in metas. There have been people trying different stuff. If you think about it, storyline this much earlier, as it's just Tarzan clearing a blast plant, was awesome dude carry team versus 80 carry team, and now that feels like just a long time ago that actually had to be something to talk about, and yet in Game 5 it comes back to that, which is just so cool. It's been a very memorable LCK summer, and another 5 games with Kingzone. That's all I ask for. Whoever the victor is, it's going to be hard for. That's the dream. Get us 15 games in the gauntlet. Here's the Baron, though. It's a big one. Griffin, if they get it, they could win the game. Gen.G, that's their ticket back. Also remember, it's not just a ticket, it's a big ticket because there's no wave clear on the side of Griffin, really. So it's the sort of Baron buff that feels guaranteed. Rubber stamps, take turrets. It's QV, taking a lot of damage, but he's dealing out some too.
This is a huge fight. If Sword goes down here, he's not going to be there for the Baron fight. Here comes Viper, though, the shield in effect, and can he do the damage? Shen as well, trying to jump on in. This is 3 people to kill the Gnar. Is able to QSS his way out of that one, but it's still going to go down. No Baron, though, for Gen.G. It's enough.
But this is what Shen can do. He can join instantly, and the Vladimir runs down. Gen.G do not try the Baron. They don't have the tankiness to do it with their remaining members. So they back away. They end up just losing a member. It started so well for QV, but it ended so well for Griffin.
Not sure exactly how the fight started, but it does paint a picture for this Gnar who's building a lot of offensive items. Can he just go 1v1 against Urgot in the future? Hold the phone, though. We got the Baron started here. QV, he's still dead.
20 seconds. He can teleport in. Doesn't take that long to kill it. Seems like they're brute forcing it though, Tarzan with some trouble, but he could just go down though.
That's okay. They're going to knock up Haru though. Down he might go. The locket comes in. Nice double knock up there by the Rakan. The 4-man charm as well. Toby getting so low. There's his Guardian Angel. Viper coming in. And there's from the back. Sword is here to carry his team again. Core JJ is going to have to hop away, and Tarzan is going to go down the ruler. It's his time to shine now as the slows come in from Cuvée. Looks like Lehens is going to be the sacrifice. Cuvée, he wants more though. Coming on in. Can he land the ultimate? Or did he bite off more than he could chew? No, he's going to take out Vladimir, and he's looking at Sword too. Will he go for it? The answer is no.
It's almost a full ace coming through from Gen.G. This is what happens when you have the marksman in the end of the game. You can pull off the team fights. They're going to get a Baron from this, certainly, and this series lives on.
This is unbelievable, guys. 30 minutes into the game, Gen.G, they're down 5,000 gold and they win a fight. They're going to get a Baron too and a Baron power play. They've only taken out one turret as well. Gen.G, the world champions, they are not going down without a fight.
This is the strength of a world championship team as you hear the big cheers from the Gen.G side. In the clutch, after a year of not looking like world champions, it was almost ironic title in regular season. They are coming back, raring to go. It looked like it was set up to be successful. Great wind wall comes through. And then look at the teleport coming in. How is he always there, Sword? He's definitely the hardest done by if they can't win this game. It's a great flank, but it's so hard to have threat on Ruler when you don't fight in areas that are open where you have wards. In this case, the control ward's the real MVP. They lose so much damage. They're so low when they get the first kill that eventually Cuvée can chase to the tune of a Baron on the side of Gen.G. And remember, the wave clear on the side of Griffin is situational at best.
That it is. Core JJ also fantastic counter-engaged to bring that fight back into their hands before the Urgot did come. They're looking, though, for the Gnar. Did he make a mistake this time around? Cuvée. Uh-oh, that's not what you want to see with Baron buff and no wave clear on the side of Griffin. Yep. He throws away his life and his Baron.
Cuvée giveth, Cuvée taketh away. It's not a small thing like you're alluding to. We talked about how set up this Baron was to be. That's ARAM and cool wave clear. I'll take that turret. I'll take that turret free inhibitor. It wouldn't have ended the game, but it would have gotten them a big foothold into what has been largely Griffin dominated post 20 minutes. So Cuvée going down. The Yasuo working on Sterix. First Ocean Drake of the game. Not even going to be relevant, but it does depower an Elder Drake. Here we go. Again, we take a breath. How many more moments will decide this game? Will it be a pick? Will it be a team fight? I think a team fight would definitely be the biggest calling card of these two teams who have both prided themselves on team fights. And at this point, you feel really bad for Sword if they can't win, because I don't think an Urgot could do any more than what we've seen in the first 30 minutes.
Swordman, he wants to be well known as one of the guys who is able to try to take this win for his team. Gen.G, though, 4 members still with Baron and a couple of guys that did go back. They're going to take 1 turret. That means that the gold lead is only 3,000 as we do get along. Sure, Vladimir's going to be crazy late game. The Yasuo will as well. But how about the Xayah in the late game as well as that Gnar? Can Ruler actually carry this back?
I think we should take a moment now, we haven't really talked about previously, to note that only now the 4th item is finished for Vladimir as a bit of a cheaper build than a Xayah. And crucially, his first 3 items were defensive and utility. It wasn't quite Proto Belt, but it was Spellbinder, Banshee, Veil, Zhonya. So it was actually a very low damage Vladimir, who was supposed to be counterbalanced by a very high damage Yasuo. But if none of that threat is on to Ruler, pretty much no damage is going his way. The Void Staff will help for certain, but the Vladimir true kind of team fight damage threat has been back-ended. It's probably going to be a last item death cap before it really truly starts to be team fight impacting. So it's something small to note, and it's been such a small detail that we haven't gotten to it in the first 35.
He'll most likely be working towards a death cap next, so this item into that one, it's going to be a Vladimir that could even just one combo Ruler if he's not able to get any lifesteal in. It's coming down to this, guys, down to the wire in Game 5. You see the gold graph is getting a lot closer to that 0 line now.
Do you know Urgot is pushing with no vision, so he has to back away. Won't be going any further. We're getting to 6 items, so the vision is being removed. Note that Gen.G actually has a lot of control wards in the inventory, and Griffin have basically none, just the one onto the Vladimir. That does mean that Crown and Haru kind of have 2 very situational items. They have double stopwatch, very useful in a team fight, and ward stacks. So I think Gen.G are going to be a bit more patient. They're very much about, let's take our time and use a vision advantage for a pick rather than pure battle stats, because they do have less of those.
You're talking about that one control ward. There it goes. Up in the top side in that brush. And now they do not have much vision of that river.
Crown does have a very interesting build for a Zoe. We've seen a lot of double stopwatch builds where you do this if you don't use your perfect timing. You can actually rebuy it and then have both the stopwatch and the Zonias for 5 seconds of stasis. You think Kassadin, you think Swain. You don't really think Zoe, but you can take an aggressive portal jump that looks like an int and turn it into 5 seconds of baiting with double stopwatch. So we'll wait and see if Crown can make the big play. He'll still be frustrated about that dive went wrong in the 4v2 bot side. Maybe there's a 5-second stasis play that can send the victory to Gen.G.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing, too, because Griffin, they got to look in the items and actually call that out. And who knows, in the heat of the moment, are they going to recognize that? Are they going to respect that? It's going to be perfect. You mentioned baiting plays. That's something that Gnar loves to do, hop into the back line and ult 4 people after everybody groups up to try to kill the Zoe. So we'll see.
Halfway there when it comes to AP purchases. Just a bit of visual lag, guys. Don't worry about that, although I'm sure some people having flashbacks to the podcast a few days ago. Watching here, all about blue buff control. Pretty low value blue buff to Griffin, so they could give this up.
Crown in the face of danger, not scared. He has cleanse. He has so many different buttons he's got to press on that Zoe. It's not an easy task.
Good news, all the buttons are up summoners-wise as well, so plenty to play by play in who knows how long. Again, table setting. Elder Drake, equal value, no Infernals, no Mountains, so just about the 2-stack Elder, Baron buff. It's almost 40 minutes, so it's almost a full-powered Baron coming through around the 38-minute mark. Again, the control ward and vision advantage around the pit is what Gen.G will be granted with all the control wards they've had. They can take a shot now knowing they have a lot of control vision down and a lot of room to take a decent back and be there for the fight.
Take a look at the golds here. It looked like Yasuo actually had the most in the game. He has the most kills as well as... Okay, let's take another look.
Feels bad. 2,200 gold disadvantage with the Zoe, so it's 3 items in a stopwatch. So really, it's about bait and whether a trouble bubble can open up with Ruler killing someone. Very low threat coming through from both the opening burst salvo and even just the skipping around W passive from the Zoe. So Griffin continue to look around, continue here. We need to see if Gen.G can get a pick. Our first one forward.
Oh, they're starting it.
Yep. Well, the Urgot splitting, so they want to make something happen.
Yep, they have the vision on it. They know this is started now. The nice sleepy trouble bubble onto Viper. Will they have enough damage? He's actually going to zone Viper entirely out, but look at this wombo combo. The head's getting way too deep at Tarzan. He's going to go down too. Just at the end, gets chomped in the face, but Sword able to take out Cuvée. 4-3 right now. Sword hopping forward, and he's not able to get over the wall. He's going to get sleeped up too is Chovy, and he might be able to go down here. Viper nowhere to be seen. He's just running away. As Chovy himself trying to take them all out. The knockup is not on time actually, but the sleepy trouble bubble is there. Double kill to Ruler, and it looks like Gen.G are going to get that Baron.
They won't be able to close the game from this if they go for Baron. Instead, they're actually backing one member, the Zoe here. Viper couldn't find a way in. There seemed to be a split call because he had it multiple times. He could have tried to go in with everything up. He chose not to after being zoned out by the Zoe. All he is going to get is an inhibitor turret. And you better hope he finds a better spot to pick up a kill because there's a second Baron buff coming the way and then no ability to wave clear from this side of Griffin is going to need to be overcome by the right engage, and it might be against Elder and Baron. So we talk about what happened here. Crown just runs at Vlad, and we already said it's super low damage from Crown. So actually, this is a great trade of resources. You're happy with Zoe being out of the fight. In the fight, Core JJ runs all over the back line. Sword is a bouncer with Chovy, and they do get away QV. But then these two walk up to try to control, and Vlad never walks with them. And that disagreement ends up losing them the maximum. All the buffs are there, and now it's get the right engage or lose for Griffin.
KT's not in the game, but it feels like a roller coaster. It's back and forth in the best of 5, down to game 5, and I feel like it's changed hands over and over again as Griffin looked good at one point, Gen.G looked fantastic now, obviously. 2 minutes 30 on Elder and Baron respectively. Now is the time for Gen.G to push in and get some massive objectives. No more mistakes from QV. He already had that mistake card. It's out of it now. He has his teleport, and now is their moment to go in and try to win the game.
Big advantage in flashes on the side of Gen.G as well. 2 down, but 3 up. Meanwhile, most used by the side of Griffin. Viper, as we know, held on to everything. Didn't go into his fight, but this is the time.
Oh, Crown goes forward. He's got 5 minutes of stasis, but will it matter? Look at the wombo from the Vlad, and Chovy gets on in there. The fear takes down 2. Crown is too low, but look at Ruler. He's able to take down 2, and QV gets the ultimate on in. Chovy disappears, and it looks like Gen.G may have to stun it. Ruler is alive. It may just be the ace, as only Viper is left. 2 kills will do it, and Ruler knows it as well.
Ruler could keep space through all of the flashy ultimates. They had no threat onto the Guardian Angels. Neither are popped, and the Griffin fairy tale ends today.
Gen.G, they're doing it again. The gauntlet magic comes in. Ruler, he knows he did it for his team. Fantastic play at the end there. Game 5 goes to Gen.G. We will have them face off against Kingzone.
The world champions are running the gauntlet again. Ruler cries. Actually, he's just probably crying because of all the stress and all the build-up of what has been a really long best of 5, 4.5 hours with no pauses. QV is, as usual, non-move.